What went wrong for them yesterday? What went wrong for them yesterday, I would think, is on the offensive side of the football. Again, you got to just boil it all down when you're talking about the finger of blame that always must be pointed when it's a conversation about the Cowboys and their season ends way shorter than they hoped. And their fan base hoped, their chest-puffed fan base, not talking about you in particular, TJ, but you're part of their fan base.
It seems like you are.
And so defensively, what they did yesterday was make Brock Purdy as close to a pumpkin as this carriage has been since he's taken over. I mean, they whipped that Niners offensive line for a good part of that game. They got the pressure. They stopped McCaffrey. They got in Purdy's face. They were getting him off the spot. Odigizua adding his game to the Parsons, Tank Lawrence front seven. I mean, Van Der Esch was everywhere, too. They were terrific. They were keeping everybody at bay for San Francisco. And all they could get was 3 Robbie Gould field goals in the first half. This game was theirs for the taking. So offensively, what's the issue? And it's a quarterback-driven league, and so everything lands on Dak. You know, I'm not going to do some sort of performance art like some 71-year-old man crumpling up a jersey and throwing it out and tweeting it out like he's 7.
It's a very specific example of what you're not going to do.
But, I mean, so it's because it's a nuanced situation.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, this is not just Dak is unable to meet the moment. We saw him meet the moment to take the lead. I mean, they scored a touchdown. The only touchdown in the first half. The Dallas Cowboys scored it because the Cowboys went on a 14-play, 74-yard drive. He finds Dalton Schultz again. Okay? When that happened, I thought to myself, here we go. And then, of course, Brett Maher has his extra point blocked, which does count, by the way, as a miss. And then the Fox replay showed that
it was going left.
Oh, my goodness.
Not close.
Is that Dak's fault? No, it's not. They took the lead. So it's in there. There is 2 interceptions. Now, the Niners scored 6 points off it because the defense did its job. They scored 6 points off it. The first one allowed the Niners to take a 9-6 lead at halftime. And that was a throw to Michael Gallup that Dak even said later on that he was late on. The second one was the real killer because that's the one that allowed the Niners to take the lead at halftime. But it also came 2 snaps after Tony Pollard went out, and that's the killer. That's the killer to me. Because you know what I felt about Pollard. I said it last year. He doesn't get the ball enough. He's the difference maker. CeeDee Lamb has absolutely come into his own as a number 1 receiver. This year, it started off a little slow. Didn't help that Cooper Rush was the guy. Because, again, I'm not going to sit here and say Cooper Rush was the better choice at quarterback. That's ridiculous. But CeeDee Lamb came to the floor and was number 1 overall for the Cowboys, no doubt about it. But Pollard goes out. And to me, the game changed. The game changed. I mean, outside of, one of their offensive linemen, Martin, CeeDee Lamb, name me another member of that offense they could ill afford to lose in a game. Because you could even say Dak isn't one of them because Cooper Rush did well enough. I mean, name me another one. That one, when I saw him go off on a cart, TJ, I thought to myself, this is a problem.
Can I be honest? I thought this game was over.
And I wouldn't blame you for thinking that.
Just the way the game was going at that moment.
Yep.
You know?
I hear you. And what ended up happening is Pollard goes out, and then a couple of snaps later, This was the throw. I mean, Dak just did not see. He did not see Jimmy Ward coming in. And Ward grabbed the ball, and Fred Warner took the tip, and that's what led to the field goal to go up 9-6. This was Dak after the game on the interceptions for the Dallas Cowboys and how it affected things, and, you know, what was with all the interceptions we saw towards the end of the season for Dak, and the fact that he didn't have a problem in Tampa, it proves the point. He throws them, they lose. He doesn't, they win. Here it is.
Something I've got to get in the offseason, take a look at all of them. As I said before, they all have their own story, but two tonight, as I said, unacceptable. I can't put the ball in jeopardy like that, whether they're tipped up in tight throws or whether I'm late on a stop route. Just can't happen. And the number that has gotten to is ridiculous. And I can promise that the number will never be this again. I can promise that.
It's nice of him to say that. He can't promise that. I mean, that's certainly for Cowboys fans, I imagine that feels like an empty promise and causes septuagenarians to grab their jerseys and throw them out and storm out of camera.
I didn't know what you were talking about at first, but it just now hit me. Did this person skip off of camera?
This quarterback is a lion-hearted kid who can do it. He can do it. He just hasn't done it. And I know you could sit here and say, can he do it? He's won games. He's won big games. But what he isn't is Mahomes or Burrow. He's just not. And what we're finding out, he might not be Jalen Hurts. Just the big games, you just haven't seen the put the team on his shoulders and go. Now, you could also take a look at the rest of the offense, too. You have to. And I'm not making excuses for Dak. I mean, I just called it like I saw it. Since when has Zeke turned into, a red zone guy? That's it. And I know I've said I want to see more from Pollard. I know I've said that. But Zeke hasn't had a 100-yard rushing game since week 5 of last year. He didn't have one at all this year. He scored a ton of touchdowns. But if there was any game that I wanted to see old school like Emmett, right? If there's any game Pollard's out, I know it's a tough front seven to try and run against.
Yeah, it's a tough front.
I get it. But this is one of those games. It was one of those games that, Steve Young said to make me want to throw up my mouth, and Aikman's talking about it 30 years later. This is one of those moments. But I also didn't see that they kept trying. Like, let's. Where's the Zeke with this? The eat. So the offense was just off too, and then there's just what's the other threat? Who's the other threat? Noah Brown? Is that a threat? Gallup, I know, was hurt. He had only 3 targets. He didn't have a catch. Who's the other threat? T.Y. Hilton. They just signed him. So blame the general manager. Problem is that guy's not going to fire himself. What about the coach? Here's the GM and the owner and the whole shooting match on the coach after the game.
Jerry, you said before the Tampa Bay game that nothing that happened that night could impact your thoughts on head coach Mike McCarthy. Does a result like this change anything in your mind with him?
No, not at all. And their decision for our kicker was exonerated with his field goal in my mind, and I'm proud for him. But this is very sickening to not win tonight.
I think he was choking down right there. I would disagree. The kicker, again, Brett Maher was terrific, but I don't know what happened to him in the playoffs. That 1 point meant a lot. I would say it would have meant a lot, but that meant 2 more field goals would have tied the game. I don't think they were going to trust him to do that either. Is it the coach? Is it the offensive coordinator? Is it the whole damn thing? Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.